On this week's show, we'll be comparing the differences between managing a HMO and a single let.
In the news, 5 £1 million houses have been torn down by the council.
And we'll be answering all your property related questions.
Welcome to the Property Investors Podcast. Thanks so much for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe so you never miss an upload. You can catch us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify and YouTube. Enjoy this week's show and don't forget to share it with all your friends.
Hey, I'm Russell Leeds.
Hey, I'm Alistair Cunningham.
And welcome to the Property Investors Podcast. How are you doing, Al? You well?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm actually really good. I'm very tired, but I'm really good. I don't know why, but I woke
You
up
look tired.
Thanks.
You've got bags under the
I
eyes.
have.
Is that the age or the tiredness?
It's a bit of both. It's age because
Yeah.
I do you know what? The more you get, the older you get, the more you feel it. So I'm 39, as we all know. We all talk about it all the time, whatever. And I'm just feeling a bit old at the minute.
You're
and
still
I'm
in your 30s?
Yeah. And I'm just feeling a little bit old. I'm feeling a little bit tired.
Yeah.
And I've been working very hard the last few weeks. And I'm just not sleeping very well. Because do you know what? During lockdown, me and Ricky, we went marathon. We started going to the gym pretty much every day when the gyms were open. We made our mission to go to the gym, and we started working out a lot and doing lots of weights and stuff like that. And
judging by looking at Ricky, I'm going to guess that hasn't continued.
well, he still goes, but Ricky does light weights as opposed to heavy weights because he does lots of reps but lighter weights, which is fine. I can get it. Basically, we go to the gym to look at the
Women.
The women, and to sit in the swimming pool and sit in the hot tub, and then play about on the weight machines. However, I did hurt my shoulder last year, right? I don't know. I was. Do you know there's a machine that you push down? So you load it up with weight, and then you literally just push down. Like you go from there to there, you just push it down.
I haven't got that one.
David Lloyd's have got it, and it's really good. And I was getting up to like 70, 80 kilogram pushing that down. And I remember doing it once, and I felt a pain in my shoulder. And ever since then, I've had a very bad shoulder. So when I lie on it at night, it
Just lie on the other shoulder.
I can't because I can't sleep that side. It's awkward. It's very annoying, but it's really playing me up at the minute, and especially because I've been helping out with a couple of refurb jobs I've got on at the minute, and a bit more manual labour and things like that. It's probably playing up.
Well, talking about the refurb jobs, the manual labour, that is you turning a property into a HMO, right?
Yeah. So it was a single let into HMO. I've got 2 ongoing at the minute that I'm doing, and I'm getting involved in one of them because my builders are busy and they're not going to be able to finish it in time because they've got other jobs ongoing, and I'm like, I can't wait. I need to just crack on with it. So my dad is a builder, but it's a long story, but basically my dad moved to Scotland and then he couldn't do my builds for me because he was in Scotland, but he's since moved back to England, so he's now taken over a lot of my build projects.
Is your dad English then?
No, he's Scottish. But he moved back to Scotland when he had a heart attack just to chill out and retire, and then he's come back and now he's going to be doing all of my refurbs, all of my build projects, it's just I'm helping him.
I didn't realise that. So he's living back in England now.
Yeah. He moved back like 6 weeks ago.
Nice.
So now he can do all my refurbs for me because obviously he's a 40-year veteran builder and joiner and carpenter. So if
you're 40, he must be in his 60s.
He is 60. Yeah.
Is he better than you at the building stuff?
Yeah, of course he is.
Stronger and stuff.
No, I wouldn't say stronger. I'm stronger because I'm younger. But he's definitely, of course, he's a proper builder. His skill set is joinery, woodwork, like really finesse woodwork, and like what he used to do, he used to make. So he's been a joiner for 40 years, been in building trade 40 years. He's built many houses. He's bought and sold many houses. But where his skill set is traditional woodwork, like wood milling and wood turning and things like that. So you might want some for your children. He makes traditional rocking horses. Like, do you know old-fashioned traditional wooden rocking horses? And they're all carved out of one big block of wood. They're all manually carved, no machinery. It's all manual carving, and he's very skilled in that arena. So he's back now. He's going to help with all my refurbs, and like I say, he's finishing one for me at the minute. We've got another one due to start probably in the next couple of weeks, and then so we're just doing that. But that's what I'm doing. Single lets into HMOs. And it is. It's not a 5-minute process. It's not. I've had a lot of delays with this project because of COVID, because of building regs.
To be fair though, converting a normal house into a house, your house was a wreck.
It was a wreck. It was back to brick, and it had structural issues. We had to put structural steels in. We had to get planning out.
Yours would have been a nightmare if you'd been refurbing it back into a single let.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. It would have been a little bit quicker because we didn't have to do plumbing and en suites and all that sort of stuff. However, it took 5 months just to get it through building regs for the structural problems. So I bought it in July. It wasn't. By the time we got to like January, it only just been signed off by building regs for the structural steel. That meant we could then start doing all the major work. And we're now in April, and it's May. It's nearly finished.
And are they all en suite? All the rooms?
All 5 bedrooms are en suite.
Saniflow or
no proper toilets. I don't like Saniflows and HMOs because Saniflows are. I think they're 1.25 inch or 1.5 inch waste pipe. Now what happens is
it was like a blade, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the blade. It gushes it all up. The problem is, if you ask any plumber, they're all very much like, no, just don't, because it in a HMO particular, it's a breakdown waiting to happen. It's different in a family home because you're a bit more considerate to what's going on in the bathroom.
I would think if it was a communal bathroom in a HMO, I would agree with you. I'd be like, absolutely no way. But in an ensuite, as long as they knew, it's kind of they're the only one using it. It's kind of their own.
I know, but the thing is, when
write it into the contract, if you block the toilet, you got to pay for it.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, you could do that. But I know plumbers, I'm looking from a landlord point of view, a lot of plumbers, it is hassle because they do tend to block a lot. I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you have Saniflows in your properties? Are they good? Are they bad?
I've had one.
Yeah.
Well, so one of the properties I lived in about 4 or 5 years ago, the downstairs toilet was a Saniflow. Yeah. And the only real thing I never blocked, the only thing I noticed was it was noisy.
Yeah, noisy, yeah.
But
look, I've got a couple of plumbers that just say no, but then I'm sure there's people that say yes. So it's an opinion at the end of the day. I've never had one because I've always been told not to. I always go for standard waste, which is obviously 4-inch waste pipe, which is generally pretty good. But
you've got a 4-inch waste pipe, did you say?
I knew it. I just knew something would...
I thought you just said.
I knew it. Right, anyway. So single let into AST, a single let into HMO is just... Yeah, you've got to be looking at the legal side, but it's really important to speak to the council and find out what you have to do. Now, what I've done with like this property in Bedford, for instance, I actually phoned the council and I said, look, can your HMO compliance officer, can he come out and help me and look at the property, tell me what I can do, what I can't do, tell me what I want his advice. Really what I want is him to come out and I want to get him on side, because when I start going for a license and things like that, I don't want them saying, well, actually you can't do that. And I said, well, you told me I could do that. Do you know what I mean? And I document everything. And it cost I think it was £80 or something like that to get them to come out and assess the viability of the property for a HMO. And it's just next to nothing. It's pointless not doing it. And like I say, 5 bedrooms. It's really important, I think, when you're doing it, if you're doing single let into HMO, to have a big kitchen area. Like, so my kitchen area is probably the size of this studio. Yeah, it's huge. It is absolutely huge.
Have you given them all their own kitchen space? So they've got like their own cupboards and stuff?
There's 2 cook stations. There's 2 4-ring cookers with hobs, ovens. There's 2 sinks. There's 7 meters of worktop. That's how. There's lots of worktop there. There's cupboards everywhere. There's going to be 1 big double fridge freezer, washing machine, dishwasher, tumbler dryer, all that
How many microwaves?
There'll be 2 microwaves, 1 at each corner, I suppose. Yeah. So there'll be lots of stuff in there. But the good thing about it is it's the dining communal living room area.
So it's just one communal area, which is your kitchen and everything.
So it's got kitchen, dining room, and then a
is the dining room separate?
It's not. It's separated by an archway.
Okay.
So you could separate.
Is all the communal space, including the kitchen, the size of the studio?
Open plan, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'll like that.
So it's you've got the kitchen which goes round, and then you've got an island, and then you've got it's actually probably bigger, you know. It is actually probably bigger. And then you've got an extension at the back where you go through an actual communal area, and there'll be a sofa and TV on the wall and all that sort of stuff there. But look. What do you need to look out for? If you're going from a single let to a HMO, first thing you've got to look out for rules. Make sure you are actually allowed to do it because of Article 4.
Because you're going to be changing the use from C3, which is the class used for a normal dwelling, to C4.
C4, yeah.
Which you can't always do.
No, you can't always do it.
You can do it with permitted development rights.
Yeah.
But like you say, there are areas where Article 4 is in.
Yeah.
Places like
it's really important if you're buying a property to make sure, if you're buying a property for the purpose of single let to HMO, you got to make sure you can do it, because I know people that have bought houses and they've not really checked, and then they've done it into HMO, and then they're like, they've had to then go to the council and say, well, can we get HMO license? No, you didn't get permission, and then they've got to go through a whole. Now they generally get the license because they've done it, but it's just more bollock down the end.
What would you say were the pros? Obviously, the obvious pros are you know, you're going to get a lot more money for HMO, because you, like you said, with this property that you've got now, you're renting out 5 rooms.
Your 5 rooms.
How much are they going to rent out per night? Per month?
Between 700 and 750, 650 and 750. So
call it 700.
Yeah, I should be getting around
7 times 5, £3.5 grand.
Yeah.
What would you get if you rented it out as a single let?
£1,400 flat rate.
£1,400.
Yeah.
So obviously take off your bills. If you sort of say 40%.
40%, yeah.
Do you reckon?
I reckon bills are going to be 40% of, 40, maybe even let's say 50%. Even if we said 50%.
I think it's less.
Yeah.
I would say 40% if you're looking at sort of like the £350, £400 mark. But when you those rents that you've got, the bills aren't going to dramatically go up, are they?
No, the bills are going to be. I always work bills out on HMOs at £75 per room. So, like when I say bills, that's gas, electric, and water. So gas, electric, water, £75 per room.
If you throw in your broadbands and stuff,
yeah,
call it 100.
You're talking £100 a room, so that's £500 a month in bills, which is going to be fair thereabouts.
Yeah.
Council tax, 130, 40 quid. So that's 630. The mortgage will be about 600, so we're at 1200. Plus, we're managing it ourselves. We're not giving it to a management company. What else is there? Cleaner, £100 a month. So you probably,
About 1,300 quid?
probably looking at 13. Yeah, you're right, actually, yeah.
You're going to make a lot more. So you're going to be making a profit of around about sort of like, if assuming it's full,
2k.
2k, probably a bit more. 2, 3, probably 2k with a couple of voids thrown in.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So you're looking at about 2k profit a month. If you did a single let, you'd be looking at
about 600.
Yeah, so you're making 4 times as much money from the property. So,
but it's not cost 4 times the amount to do the refurb. It's not, because
and to buy it.
Yeah. The purchase was 210. So I bought for 210, and the refurb's going to come in around 55. But the refurb for single let was going to be around 35.
Yeah.
So it's cost 20k more, and that's mainly for 5 en suites, all the additional electrical system, because we've had to, all the rooms have to have fire safety systems, so they're all hardwired. You've got the additional sort of kitchen units and kitchen space, because if it was single let, you wouldn't have that much space in the kitchen. And you've got all the additional materials, for like ensuite materials. You've all
you say that though, but
fire doors, all that sort of stuff.
We talked about this before, but in a lot of modern houses, they do have en suites in every room.
Yeah.
So even if you sold it,
yeah, but if I was going to do that as a single, I wouldn't put en suites in every room.
What I
would have done was I would have kept it downstairs as a living room, and I would have made upstairs into 4 rooms, which it is, and I would have had one of them an en suite, and then.
Listen, I know you wouldn't have done, but now that you have, if you did come to sell it, you could still sell it as a single let property. Is my point.
Yeah.
People wouldn't be like my house. Every room is en suite.
Yeah.
It's not, and I've even got an en suite room downstairs.
Yeah.
I'm not walking here going, oh, it feels like a big HMO, like it would have done, say, 10 or 15 years ago.
Yeah, you're right.
Do you know what I mean? So I don't think it's as big a deal now. Doing the conversion.
Do you know the good thing being is, let's just say you do a HMO, right? Let's just say you get a HMO, you make it into 6 bedrooms, and for whatever reason it doesn't work. Do you know what's really good about this? Is you could systemize it, i.e. make all the door pads with key safes or with electric door pads, and you could do it on Airbnb and rent out room by room because they're en suite. And I've got a friend in Wolverhampton, they've got 2 properties. They were both 6-bed HMOs, and what happened was Wolverhampton became a little bit saturated and the markets were getting a little bit tough. So they renovated the property top to bottom, and they were renting out on Airbnb, and they were doing like, the rooms were £35 to £45 a night. So they're getting £35 to £45 a night, but on Airbnb. So the rental income went from like £1,800 a month as a 6-bed HMO to like £4,500 a month. It was costing them maybe £1,500 to run it.
The exact same
so they
thing
were making a lot more money.
Yeah.
And now they don't do HMOs anymore. All they do is service accommodation, and they're like hostel type things for workers. And I've stayed in them a few times, and
But you've got the good thing about property investing. I was talking about is let's say you buy in Bitcoin, for example, right, and then the Bitcoin.
Don't talk to me about Bitcoin at the minute.
Well, the reason I'm talking about it is I was considering now. It's just dropped. I thought, is it worth putting a bit in? I know it's like would have been a lot better to put it in 2 years ago. It's about 24 grand now.
Let me tell you. I'll tell you.
And it was about 35 or something.
Let me refresh.
Is this yours?
This is mine.
This is your account.
So that was 12 holiday.
Yeah.
Oh fuck.
It's gone down again.
It's gone down again.
But exactly, that's why it's a good time to buy, right? But here's my point though. If you're relying on capital appreciation, I suppose, of your Bitcoin, you're not getting paid by it. So if you buy a property to do it as a HMO, yes, you're going to be getting the rent, whether you do it as a HMO service, but you've still got the asset.
The thing is, you make a very good point, and I've been thinking about this a lot recently. Everyone goes, "Oh, Bitcoin's the way forward." Maybe I don't know enough about it, but what I do know is if you want to take any money out of your Bitcoin, you've got to sell the asset. You can't. There's not many. I know. There's probably schemes out there where you can get paid interest, but the reality is, if I've got some crypto, I've got various different cryptos, right? And if I want to take any money out of that crypto, I have to sell a portion of that asset. Whereas if you've got a property, you can get paid without selling the asset in the form of rent.
Do you know on the Wolf of Wall Street where they're talking about? It's really interesting little scene. You've got Matthew McConaughey, whatever his name is. And he's and he's talking to Jordan Belfort, and Jordan's like, "Oh, if we can get our client," he goes, "It's not fucking real." You're rich on paper, but once people are addicted and they put more and more money into it, and on paper they might be doing well, and then it drops, and you go, but it's not. You're not got anything.
It's not a tangible asset, is it?
No, it's not real.
And if you listen to a lot of people, a lot of really, really educated people are saying Bitcoin will crash.
Like, what is Bitcoin?
It doesn't. Bitcoin. Somebody explained to me the other day what crypto and currency and Bitcoin was. It's essentially an app. It's essentially a program, an algorithm, a program, but there's no tangible asset behind it.
No.
So, a lot like Warren Buffett, all these people are all saying that Bitcoin will go to shit and it will absolutely crash. I don't know enough about it. And you guys, I'm sure you're all throwing things at the screen at the minute, saying, "Alistair, you don't know what you're talking about." You're right, I don't. But I'm just saying, I've watched lots of articles, I've read lots of, I've watched lots of programs and articles about Bitcoin. I've spoken to a lot of people that I know in the know with regards to trading, and they're all very wary of it. They're not saying don't do it. They're just saying don't put all your eggs in one basket because it's so volatile. Like we've just seen it.
It's almost like that. So I read a really interesting article about Bitcoin being almost like a Ponzi scheme.
Yeah. No, you're bang on.
Because it gets value by more people buying it.
Yeah.
But there's nothing actually there.
You're buying an algorithm. You're buying an algorithm. Yeah. It's true. Elon Musk done a tweet, saying you could accept that Tesla will be accepting Bitcoin for purchase of their cars, right? Great, fine, happy days. What did that do to the price of Bitcoin? Boom, right? He went up. But by the way, he also bought 1.5 billion pounds worth of it, then released a tweet saying this, Bitcoin went sky high. He then sold it at the peak, made 1.2 billion, and then said, due to the cost of producing Bitcoin, it's not energy efficient, so we're not going to accept it for our cars, so we're not going to accept it. That's what caused Bitcoin to crash. And also China have said it's unsustainable, so they've said we're not going to validate it as a currency, so the price has dropped. So he's basically played the markets.
That is as close to insider trading. That's like he is creating the market.
Of course, he's created the market. He made 1.2 billion out of it, and to me, that's really that is because it's not. He's basically taken that money. That money's come from the everyday normal person that has put 2 or 3 grand in, and they've lost their fucking life savings because of Elon Musk saying buy Bitcoin because we'll accept it. So everyone's bought it because it's going to go up, and then he said, actually, no, sorry, no longer. And then he makes 1.2 billion. Everyone else loses all their money, and it's just. I don't like it.
I'm not.
I won't buy a Tesla.
I like property. I like property.
Property's everything, man.
I was talking to Anna on the way here. I was saying about the Bitcoin. I was like, it has dropped. And she's like, will it definitely go up? I was like, I don't know. She said, will property definitely go up? I said, yeah. So why don't we just stick to that then?
Yeah.
Good point.
Thing is, they say Bitcoin will be worth a lot of money, but
half a million.
But they reckon it's going to be worth. By the end of 2021, they reckon it's going to be worth about 100k. But
if it is, then we'll just be kicking ourselves.
Yeah, We will.
And we'll look at this. We'll look back at this in a year's time. We'll go, we were freaking idiots, weren't we?
Yeah, absolutely. But it's not the first time we've been called idiots. So
you only know that of hindsight, though.
Of course,
it's very easy to connect the dots looking back. You can't ever connect the dots looking forward.
Of course. So anyway, single lets. HMOs work very well. You're going to need good build team, okay? Make sure you get good build team, make sure you understand what HMOs are. In the academy, we've got so many good contacts within the building world.
We'll talk about it at the crash course. We've got a crash course talk coming up where we're talking all about this.
Yeah.
In fact, we'll put a link, guys. Free event, Alistair will be there. It's a full day. We're touring the whole of the UK. So wherever about you are, no excuse, get there.
I know you haven't got an excuse, because listen, me and Sam will both get this, and I'm sure you get it. Before when we release a crash course date, like it'll be in London, so we'll get all these people from up north saying, "Oh, when are you next coming to Leeds?" And I'm like, "We're not, but we're in the UK, so come to London. It's only a 3-hour drive." And they're like, And I'm like, "Dude, if you ain't prepared to drive 3 hours to learn this stuff, then give up, because you'll never make any money in property." Because this week, like yesterday, I drove an 8-hour round trip to go to Manchester to view 3 houses, and then drove back to London. And
I'm going on a 3.5 hour round trip tomorrow to view a piece of land.
Yeah, see what I mean? And if these people if you're prepared to drive 3.5 hours, and do you know what? It's even better, because you can put the Property Investors podcast on in the background.
What, during the programme or on the way in the car?
On the way in the car, So get yourself to the crash course, because we're going across the country, lots of different locations. We're going south, we're going north, we're going Midlands, we're going east. Everywhere, guys, get there. You've got to be there.
Apart from east.
Oh, everywhere else apart from east. But we're going to be there.
But you still should come.
Anyway.
I'll put a link below anyway. So I suppose the next question is, you can make a lot more money. You've got to check the walls. You've got to get, you've got to work out how much it's going to cost to do the refurb.
Yeah.
It might be very cheap. If you're buying the right house, it might not be. Samuel's classic saying, "How do you turn a living room into a bedroom?" By putting a bed in it. So you can do it pretty cheaply. What would you say the differences are? I mean, I've managed hundreds of HMO rooms in my time.
Yeah.
What would you say the biggest differences are? Because at the moment, on paper, it sounds like an absolute no-brainer.
Yeah.
Between managing a single let and managing a HMO.
Headaches, that's what the differences are. Single lets are easy, they're vanilla, they're straightforward, right? HMOs, you've got multiple different tenants from multiple different backgrounds, from multiple different anything, and they generally, unless you match them well, they can sometimes cause problems. Now, you're trying to ask 4 different people from 4 or 5 different people, 6 different, from different backgrounds to all live together harmoniously, and it doesn't always happen that way. Now, I find with HMOs, and this is not against anyone up north, but I get more problems in my HMOs up north than I do in my HMOs in the Midlands. I get more problems in my HMOs in the Midlands than I do in the south. Okay, that's just my experience.
What about if you went really far north out of England?
Like into Scotland?
Oh, a nightmare.
There's actually, HMOs in Scotland are not very popular. There's not many of them. But that's not to say, listen, that's not to say that up north, I'm not slagging you northerners off before you all start bashing me. I'm not. I'm just telling you my experience. I've got HMOs I've got HMOs in Hull, I've got one in Liverpool, I've got HMOs in Wolverhampton, and I've got HMOs in Bedford, right? And I've also got another one in Northamptonshire, which is a rent to rent, and I have no problems with that one, right? But the HMOs I've got up north, I have a turnover of tenants, and I've had problems with tenants getting trashed, properties getting trashed, and then it's all about management. So make sure you've got a really, really good management company out there, and they're going to cost you money. They're going to cost you. They are going to cost you. Expect to pay 12 to 15% of your rent to a good management company. Like if you're saying that, okay, but it's too expensive, I'll pay this company 6% or 8%, then yeah, I wish you well, but you need good management, because you've got to be on top of these tenants, because if you've got a tenant paying £95 a week to stay in a room, it's very easy for them not to pay the rent sometimes, because they just let it go, they just let it slide, and if you're not on top of that, you need a good it all comes down to management.
Spend your time going and visiting the managers, ask them if they can take you to some of their existing HMOs, have a look around, see if they've got 100%. People in. So rather than spending your time trying to find tenants, listen, you can manage it yourself. I've managed hundreds of rooms.
Yeah.
And it is a bit of a ball ache if you're managing lots of rooms. I think one's not so bad, but you'll be getting phone calls with petty things like, oh, so and so didn't do the washing up.
It's very true.
So and so didn't flush the toilet after he went, or he did this time, but he left skidders in it. And you're like, okay.
It's
Okay.
it's like
Can't you just tell Dave? Just say, Dave, oi, Dave, get the toilet, mate.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
alright, bro.
But they can't. They come to you.
Honestly, it does happen. You guys think, no, come on, it does happen. Trust me.
It does. It does. Oh, so and so left there. So and so used my fork.
Yeah.
Oh, honestly. So I bought an extra microwave to use because there's only one, and then they used my microwave. Oh, all right. Is your microwave still working? Well, yes, but I had to wait a minute. So
Yeah.
what are you telling me?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
It honestly does get a little bit petty. Again, management, and also making sure you're matching the tenants up as best you can. Like, try and get tenants that are all of the same interest and they've got the maybe same age sort of group, things like that. You wouldn't put somebody like
Don't
a
put
50-year-old with a student. It's just
professionals.
no, it would cause you problems. HMOs are great, by the way, they really are. But we always tell the downside as opposed to the upside. They do come with risks and they do come with problems. We talk about it all at HMO Bootcamp. We show you how to do it. We talk to you about the pros, the cons, how to prevent all of these problems, how to mitigate the risks. We do all that at HMO Bootcamp. We're also going to be talking about HMOs at the crash courses, so get yourself along to them and learn as much as you can. For me, I love HMOs. I think they're really good. You just got to do it right in the right place for the right property for the right price.
Yeah, I agree. Cool.
Yeah.
We happy with that?
Yeah.
Brilliant. Right. Well, it's now time for this.
So in the news, you mentioned have you got the article?
I do.
Oh, let's have a look at this article because it's quite interesting. So five £1 million homes have been ripped down. I assume because they haven't got planning or they've breached planning reg or something.
Yeah, basically. So I mean, it's there are the houses, sort of highlighted right there.
Okay.
So they're 5 very nice looking houses worth £1 million each, and this is in the West Pennine Moors.
So that where's Pennine Moor? What's that?
Bolton Council.
So that's like the Peak District area, north of Manchester.
That kind of way, yeah.
Yeah.
And basically, they bought them and they just built them bigger than they were supposed to. So as a result, they're having them ripped down.
Okay, so they built them 33% too big, and they're now in a battle which has been going on for 5 years with the council to get planning approved. The council issued an enforcement notice for demolition in 2018, and now they've been fighting with them for 5 years. The householders have been given 12 months to demolish the structures and return the site to the previous state. I mean, that's a pretty big cock up, innit?
Oh, mate, it's massive. You'd think this is where the council. I would have thought if I was the council, I would just say, look, you're going to have to sell it, but we want at section 106 or our SIL. We're going to want all the profit out of this. To knock them down seems like such a waste.
It does seem like a waste, especially because it's in the middle of bumfuck nowhere, quite literally. It's in the middle of the Pennines, right? So,
and they look nice.
They do look very
really
nice, and they're nicely spaced out. However, right, what you got to ask yourself is how much would they cost to build? Like, I know you're doing a lot of build work. So a house of that size, what, 300 grand?
Yeah.
So £300,000. So they're going to lose £300,000. Take the profit out of it. The actual cost to the builder or to the people that built them is going to be £300,000-400,000 per property, plus all, including maybe
probably cost you 100 grand to demolish it as well. Like.
Yeah, plus the demolition, plus the removal, and then they're left with all this years of effort for nothing. And the reality is, you'll probably find it's not a big developer doing that. You'll probably find
a big developer wouldn't be that stupid.
Yeah, it'll be somebody that's worked hard all their life to get a little bit of money together so they can build this, and they've made a mistake by not getting the right planning and by pushing the boundaries, and now they've got to rip it down. Now, fine, I'm not saying I'm completely saying that planning has to be stuck to. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying don't stick to it and there should be no punishment for it. But as you say, I think there's an easier punishment. I think there's a more lenient punishment. It's more suitable.
Like get rid of
the crime.
Get rid of 3 of them. Maybe leave 2, or do you know what I mean? It's still less space.
Or just charge them a fine or 50 grand each a house. I'd pay that. Like, do you know what I mean? Because obviously it means it means if they've not got planning, they probably can't refinance. It depends how they financed it. If they paid for it out of their own money, then that's fine. But if they use some sort of bridging finance or some sort of finance to buy it, and there's planning restrictions, they wouldn't be able to refinance.
Lessons learned are number one, make sure that you get the correct planning, which they did, to be fair. And number two, make sure that once you've got that planning, you follow it to a T. With HMOs, if you don't get if it's an Article 4 error, you need planning. Imagine all the work you've done if you didn't really know. Oh, what? I need to take all those en-suites out.
Think about...
It's not as bad as knocking a house down, though.
Think about these knocking these house down. Like, do you imagine that conversation with his builder?
Oh my days.
He's like, well, you said maximise the space. It's all done.
Can you imagine if it was the builder's fault? How annoyed you'd be.
Yeah.
Right, anyway, it's now time for your questions and our answers.
So I've got a really good question here.
Go on.
Okay, so let me just find that question. It come through yesterday. Let me just find it. Oh, here it is here. And this is from Cutlass. I don't actually know his name. Oh no, I do. Hey Alistair, I'm Pete. I was just watching the podcast with you and that other guy, Trussell.
You sent me a screenshot of this. Trussell.
He said, I'm just watching the podcast with you and the other guy, Trussell or something, the other host, and I was wondering if I could submit a question. I'm like, yeah, crack on, my friend, but that was hilarious. Right?
Well, what's the question?
He said, I said, drop your question here, we'll answer it. And he goes, haha, don't tell him I said that. And I went, too late, buddy, I've already sent him it. It's funny, man, it's good stuff. Thanks for listening. Listen, his question, you've noticed on Rightmove that a lot of properties are being sold by online auctions. Do I think this is something that will continue now that the virus is clearing up? And do you often bid and get deals online at auction? Yes, I do think it is something that will continue. I think it's going to become the new norm. You're seeing it more and more and more. Properties on Rightmove and Zoopla are all going through auctions, conditional auctions, traditional auctions, and modern method of auctions, and it is more and more. I literally have found, I've got a list in my laptop. I'm going to go and phone up now. There's about 15 properties that I want to go and view around Northampton on Friday, and most of them are auction, and they've all just come in the market. They're all auction pretty much apart from one. Yeah, I do think auctions are going to be the way forward. So for Rightmove, listen, I've got 15 properties I'm looking at the minute. All of them apart from one are auction properties. I do think it's going to be the way forward, and it does make it more difficult for various strategies, but we just have to see what happens when the dust settles with all this pandemic.
One more question. This is from Saeed, and he says, I'm looking to, ironically actually, we've kind of answered it a bit, but maybe a couple of top tips, but I'm looking to find a HMO manager in Wolverhampton. Any recommendations?
Yes, I do. I absolutely do. I've got one that manages my rooms. You know him. I can get the link. I can get his company put in the description below. I'll stick it in the description in the.
But tips on finding one, like I mentioned earlier. Go out there, I'd say meet at least 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Get them to show you work, get them to tell you how they manage it, and you'll get a very good vibe. If you go, okay, so how do you make sure that the tenants all get on, and if they sound like they know what they're talking about, oh well, we only get tenants that are similar, and we're very picky about who to put in the room.
Great.
It might, that brilliant. That's the sort of stuff you want to be hearing. And
make sure you're asking them how many rooms do they manage, how many voids have they got, what's the longest void period, what do they do when they have void periods, how do they deal with tenant issues, how do they deal with maintenance, how do they deal with management, how do they deal with cleaning, how do they deal with all that sort of problems.
Can I speak to a couple of your current customers?
Current tenants, yeah.
Tenants and landlords?
Yeah.
All that sort of stuff.
I've never thought of that. I've never thought, actually, can I speak to one of your current landlords? Very good point.
So guys, thanks ever so much for tuning in this week's Property Investors Podcast. We'll be back next Wednesday at 7 PM, so please do tune in. You can hear us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify and YouTube, and we will see you same time next week. See you guys.